Welcome to Holistic Living Texas Edition, your guide to navigating real estate mindfulness and empowering your dreams. I'm Jill.
And I'm Lisa.
And we're your Austin, Texas holistic real estate agents dedicated to helping you make informed decisions.
After 2 years of reflection during the pandemic, we've witnessed a surge in passionate dream chasing and an urgency to create unique living spaces to serve these dreams.
We're seeing a whole new set of market players emerging in this post-pandemic reality, demanding a fresh approach to home planning. We've always promised to provide you with long-term real estate perspectives, and now, as this market undergoes profound changes, we want to ensure you have all the facts so your decisions are rooted in knowledge.
So join us as we explore this unique moment in history together.
Hello, real estate dream chasers. It's good to be with you today, and we're looking forward to our discussion. But first, I always, in my check-in with my holistic partner, Lisa, tell me, how was the scene this weekend out in the field? What were you seeing?
Oh, it was good. You know, we've got buyers out there looking at all the houses. We do have a lot of inventory right now, so we're looking at these houses. However, what I'm seeing is a lot of fear in our buyers.
Yeah, we've been talking about the fear and the apprehension, and I'm looking forward to talking about this topic with our guest speaker today. Today, every Monday, Lisa and I have a check-in with our preferred title companies and lenders just to kind of see what they were experiencing over the weekend. Because the weekends, as Lisa and I know, are when buyers reach out to us or sellers. People have time on their hands, and so they reach out to do some of their long-term planning. So today, we're going to be visiting with Mark Abernathy, Senior Loan Officer and Branch Manager of Capstar Lending. Mark has been in the industry 32 years. He's also a licensed real estate broker. Mark, welcome. We're inviting our community into our Monday conversation that we always have.
I am so happy to be here and supporting the group, and I can't wait to be here and go over everything that I've learned and know. And even for me on the weekend, I received several calls for pre-approval letters, and people were out looking, and it was very positive. And I think realistically right now, what I'm seeing is what Lisa said a minute ago: lots of inventory, great time for buyers to look for houses, and you're getting a lot of selection right now. And I think that's the great part about it, is that I'm seeing a lot of selection out there. And as a buyer, that's what you want. Over the last few years, we didn't have a lot of selection, and now you actually have a lot of homes to choose from. And so, that's a great obstacle for us that we can overcome now. I love that for us.
So Lisa and I talk at length about the what's underneath the fear and what's underneath the apprehension. Do you have a sense of the fear, or do you, in the questions and the consultations that you have, what are you hearing in terms of this apprehension that we're seeing? And they're clearly out there. Buyers are wanting and interested in buying a home. People are still transitioning, whether it's new marriage or life-altering events. What are you hearing when buyers reach out to you?
Well, what I'm really seeing is that people want to live their lives. They want to enjoy and have a beautiful home. They don't want to live in an apartment forever. They want to get out and really experience home ownership. And I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing right now is obviously part of my field is the interest rates. And interest rates, in a sense, have kind of frozen a lot of buyers. And it's put them in a position where they're like, God, do I do this now? Do I wait on the rates? And what I go over with people is to understand is that the rate is not something that's going to last forever. This rate that we may give you now may last a year, 2 years, 3 years tops. And so when you really look at it, you're really going for the best house right now, knowing that the rate that we're going to be giving you is not going to be the rate you're going to keep forever. And we actually waive our refinance fees. We do all sorts of things to help you get into a lower payment in the future. And knowing that your payment now won't always be the payment you'll have. It's just the payment to get you into this beautiful home that you've been wanting, and not have you sit on the fence and wait. It's very hard to time these things. And what happens is when rates do finally drop, then we won't have as many homes to look at. So it's actually a great time to buy for that reason, in the sense that you may pay a little higher rate, but in the end, you're going to come out better with the home.
So one of the things that I've been talking a lot about, Lisa and I have been visiting about, is sort of the benefit of working with an experienced agent that has some history and some perspective in the marketplace. And I love when I learned years ago how you entered into the real estate business. So weren't you in college? Wasn't this a part of how you paid your way through college?
Yes, real estate was my way of paying my way through college. I literally started college here in Austin, at the University of Texas, and to pay for college, I got my real estate license at age 18. And to make it kind of a fun story, which it was a fun story at the time, I would actually go to my classes as a student and hand out business cards and ask all the students in the class, where are you living next year? And I would basically show them apartments, homes, townhomes, what have you, to live in for the next year. And that's how I paid my way through college. And so because of that, I've had a real estate license almost 35 years now, which is a long time, obviously. And I actually have the highest license the state allows, because back when I did all this, it was a lot easier to get licensed than it is today. So I was basically grandfathered into a real estate broker's license, which is the highest license the state has, and I've kept it to this day. And I will not show anybody a house. I don't do that for a living, but I do know a lot about it because I have to stay educated. So I'm kind of one of those loan officers that you get a little extra perk out of me, in the sense that I know real estate just as well as anyone else does, and I'm doing your loan for you. So you have a little bit of extra there.
So you have the perspective. So with that perspective, 35 years, this January will be 19 years in the industry, and Lisa's been in the industry over 10 years. So we've got some history, but help us, invite us into that overview, historic perspective. I mean, you've seen Austin go through tremendous growth and change in the 35 years. So in terms of the mortgage scene, clue us in and connect us into that perspective of how you describe this scene that we're in right now.
So it's very interesting on that, because when I started, it was 1990 in mortgages, and interest rates were 10%. And so all my loans I was making were at 10%, and people were actually happy because rates had come down from 12 and 13%. And, I was real young, and I was like, wow, 10 just seemed like the normal rate. We didn't think anything differently of it. And through my career, and I can go through the 90s and the 2000s, we were at 7 where we're at right now for a long period of time. And people bought homes, and no one really thought anything of it. Right now, we're just coming off a really low period, which is really caused kind of a little bit of a slowdown, per se, in how we think, because we were so used to the lower number, whereas 5, 6, 7, those rates were most of my career. Most of the time I've been in lending, that's the rates we offered. And I remember everybody that I did loans for at 10, we refinanced them when the rates went to 8.5 and 9, and then we refinanced them again. And, as lenders, we do no-cost lending at that point, where we'll pay all your fees. So you're able to get into a loan really inexpensively when the rates do go down. And everybody that bought at that same time is kind of in the same shoes we are right now, in the sense that they bought the perfect home for their family at the right time, knowing they would not keep the loan forever. And that's where people really have to think about this. And they use the old adage, you're only dating this interest rate. Well, you really are. The interest rate is always changeable. The home's not. The rate is.
But, you, as a part of your loan application process, you're also looking at income and other debt. Have you seen any trends in terms of how a buyer applicant's salary has kept up with the trends over the years? Are you seeing any statistical data that?
For the most part, yes, everybody's kept up. And, I'm real good at, one of the things when you work with me is that you're going to get an education on what a good budget is, what you're comfortable with. I mean, the whole goal that I have as a lender is when you go out and you're with Jill and Lisa, you know exactly where you stand as far as the payment you can handle, what home price to look at. That's what I've done up front. And realistically, when you look at it, when you take people's incomes and their debt ratios, we try to keep everyone's debt-to-income ratio under about a 40 to 45% of their income, and we're still at that today. The nice part, though, I will say this is that you might stretch a little bit today knowing that you're going to be lower in the future when rates go back down again. And rates will go back down again. We just can't promise when. We just know it will be in a few years, and we will keep in touch with anybody and let them know this is the time you can save some money. In most refinances, so people do know, you save $200 to $500 a month on a refinance most of the time. So it's a pretty big savings. And so let's say you bought a house today and your payment was $200 or $300 more than it would have been had rates been lower. Well, if you add that up and you say, well, 300 times 12 is 3,600, and I had to keep that note for 3 years, that I only paid 10,000 more on my note to get a wonderful house that appreciated over that time frame. And so when you really look at it, you're not really in that bad a spot with the higher rates, because you're really going for the house. The house is that's the goal here. The reason you're calling any of us is to buy a home. I'm just part of the process as part of that goes.
And I know over the years, we've all often been referencing and talking about the generational, or at least the individual homeowner wealth building opportunity with home ownership. And I was the Austin Board of Realtors. I work, and Lisa and I are members of the Austin Board of Realtors. I serve as a director there this year, and the Board of Realtors we got our own staff economist this year from the Texas A&M Research Center, and she has been unleashing some amazing data and research, and she did this deep dive into sort of trends of wealth building through home ownership over decades. And I'll look forward to sharing sort of some of the graphs that she had shared with us. But historically, it shows that the sooner that individuals can get into owning real estate, the greater generational wealth building that they can build, then they can create for themselves and their family.
Can we also talk a little bit about what happens if rates go up? If a buyer were to buy right now and rates go up to 9 or 10%, what about the buyer that's buying right now at 6.5 to 7.5%?
Yeah, that's a good point, because what that just right there, it puts you in a position where when rates rise like that, you've made money on your home because the home is appreciated in value. And basically what that means is you've made more money than my loan cost you. And if you really look at it, and I'll just use historical Austin, and we can get more data on this, but historically Austin real estate is appreciated 3 to 3.5% a year over year, over 50 years. And so if you take a home, let's say a home that's $500,000, and you say that it rises $15,000 to $20,000 a year, over a 3-year period, you have a $45,000 to $60,000 increase in your value. Your loan didn't cost you that much. Your loan was about a fourth or a fifth of that. So you really made money in the transaction on the appreciation. And the loan, yeah, you paid a little more, but you made it back in the appreciation of the home. And that's really what you have to look at as well. And, like Jill just mentioned, overall, real estate is probably most of ours, when we all retire someday, one of our biggest assets. And so the sooner you can get in, the better. Putting this off and waiting, and when you're ready to buy, really shouldn't be something you think about. You need to really, if you're ready, let's do it. It's a good time.
Yeah, and for those of you listening that haven't had a chance to get to know Lisa and I, we're Holistic Realtors, and we're both former educators that care deeply about making sure our neighbors, our community are armed with information, facts, and knowledge. And when I met Mark years ago, I think it was 2016, clients introduced me to Mark. I had the opportunity to work with him on a transaction, and I'm always looking for anyone associated in the real estate transaction process to also be high education deliverers. And I was really impressed with Mark's willingness to sit down in person and have high-level educational conversations with clients and face any of their questions or their fears or their apprehensions, or face, he's one of the most creative lenders that I've worked with. And I just, as we navigate through this conversation, updating, having our Monday update on the lending scene, I want to make sure, Lisa and I are always really, really sensitive about conversations and dialogue that isn't in any way, shape, or form perceived as steering. Our intention and our heart is really to arm you with local, real knowledge. Knowledge is power. And I wanted to jump in and say that because I think a lot of consumers are hearing these scripts of date the rate, marry the house, date the rate. And I always want to dig deeper beyond that. And I feel like we're still wanting to have a conversation of what's the fear underneath the apprehension to step into home ownership right now. And I think there's still a lot of uncertainty in our market. I know Lisa, you and I have seen markets with 12,000 plus homes, active right now. We've seen this before.
Yeah. So, when I first bought my house, when I bought my first house, I was paying 13%. We didn't make hardly anything at the time. And because of that, we bought the closest house we could in Austin that we could afford. And then when rates came down a little bit, we sold that house, made a profit, and bought another. Right now, what I'm hearing from buyers is it's a little bit harder to do that because of the inflation rate. Their income ratio to what they're wanting to buy doesn't match up the way it did back in the late 80s, early 90s. So what I'm seeing, and Jill is seeing, is our sellers are wanting to sell their houses and move further out. They're wanting to buy land. They're wanting to buy houses in the country, as well as some of our even first-time home buyers. So my question would be, when we have clients looking to buy land, what should they be prepared to face in terms of the lending process?
That's a great question. So land in itself is a little different, but not always. And I'll go over the different aspects of buying with land, but the main thing is most mortgage lenders like myself will loan on up to 25 acres in a home, and it could have a barn or shed, what have you, which is pretty common in rural areas. And that's a pretty common practice. And it's the regular old mortgage financing, and we do everything the same as we would if you were in the city. If you do just buy raw land without a house, that's a little different. And, we do have programs for that as well. But there are other lenders. I'll name one, Capital Farm Credit, and they do a lot in the rural setting. And it's actually a co-op, and they'll do things that are out of the ordinary. If you want to buy some land and finance a tractor in, they'll help you with that. Or you want to build a shed or a barn dominium or something like that, they'll help you with that. And so the nice part about Capital Farm Credit is they're a co-op, and you actually join the co-op, you become a member. And what they do is, which is kind of interesting, is you actually share in their wealth. So if they have a good year, and I've actually been a member of theirs, you can get as much as 2 house payments back as a dividend each year, part of Capital Farm Credit. So do know in rural lending, there is lots of options as far as that goes. And they're really nice as far as that. And overall, just know that the rural scene is going to be a little different, because I'm doing one right now that's out near Cameron and kind of, I guess, northwest of Austin.
My favorite place. And
this it's a house, and has a lake, and it has a whole bunch of different things on it, but it's something that I can easily finance. But if I was unable to finance it, I would tell them who to contact and give them guidance on that. And so do know that there's financing available for everything from mobile homes to what have you through Capital Farm Credit.
What kind of loans are you talking about?
The type of loans? So most of the loans like that you would go with me would be a 30-year fixed, 15-year fixed, 20-year fixed. The Capital Farm Credit type loans are going to be a little different. Usually those will have a 5 or 10-year fixed period, and they don't do as long of 30-year fixed. The good news is their rates are very comparable. There's not a big difference, and you come out pretty good on those. And when you factor in, you get a dividend check back from them by joining and being a member who makes payments. Your effective rate is less than your actual rate, because you're getting as much as 2 house payments back a year. And I got that back every year. One year was 1.5, but every other year was 2 payments back. And so I never ran my effective interest rate, but it was way less for that reason.
Friends, I just want to chime in and say you just witnessed and heard one of the reasons why we love working with Mark. It's a part of our culture as real estate professionals and lenders. If we don't have a product, or we're not the best suited person to handle, your request or need, we are happy to refer you or recommend or educate you on another place to go. Mark, thank you. Mm-hmm. We often tell our clients that, go and have a sit down with Mark, or, come and visit with us. Let's have a consult. If we can't help you, we're going to introduce you to somebody that can. So I just wanted to do that little side note.
Thank you.
That's a part of our, the culture. When you're interviewing lenders and real estate professionals, tune into that. Competency in their area of expertise is important. And if they're advising you in areas that they don't have experience with, that's sort of a red, I don't want to say red flag, but, like something to note. But yeah, Lisa, you're right. We're seeing a lot. Lisa and I launched, this is our podcast version of sort of a larger Dream Chase YouTube series that we launched, because we are getting so many requests for land. People are wanting to go out to the country and unleash their creativity. And I think they, as we've been talking about, they've had all this time during the pandemic to sit and daydream about how they wanted to intentionally live their lives. And that's, leading them to want either more space or more control over their space. So that's leading to my next question. And I know I bring these requests to you, feel like almost on a weekly basis, is that and I think this ties in a lot actually, to our fear conversation, but that we've got clients that, are curious about, can I buy property with my cousin or my friends or my neighbors? And how would I do that? Like, they're having the curiosity about it, but they don't know, is that possible? So, like, I know you've educated Lisa and I a little bit, but can you share for our listeners, what does that look like if you want to buy a house with some friends?
Yes, that's becoming more and more common. We're seeing a lot of that. So it's very simple. You would apply like just anyone else. We would combine all the incomes of the different parties buying, and whether it be a friend, your childhood friend, best friend, cousin, what have you, and we would make the loan based on everybody's income and everybody's assets and debts and what have you. The nice part about that loan is it may afford you a bigger home, nicer home, because you're pooling your resources. And so I'm seeing more and more of that. I had a situation last year where 4 different people worked at Apple Computers, and they all bought a home together, and they were just co-workers, and it enabled them to get into a nicer neighborhood, nicer area. They were all close, and it really worked out well. The only advice that I really gave them, and I'm not an attorney, but I'll give advice similar to an attorney, is that you just want to have an exit strategy if someone wants out, how to get them out, and what the rules would be. And you also all want to have wills, and these would be wills set up, upon death, what happens to their share. And the main reason you do that is because if something were to happen, you want to make sure you have prepared your heirs what my share of that property you would want to have happen. And basically, it's not hard to get either of those. There's online kits, to do them. You can hire an attorney to do them, but it's not expensive to set these up. And to draw up a legal agreement between yourselves, very simple. You just have to, as a group, vote on your wishes how you do it. And but I'm seeing lots more of this, and we've embraced it. I mean, the one I did last year, they are so happy. I talked to them the other day, and they're in their house and enjoying it. They've got a great garden in the back where they're actually planting their own vegetables, and all the benefits of being home ownership that they were not going to have unless they pooled their resources.
Well, I'm looking forward to our Austin Holistic Real Estate Group family getting to know our systems architect, Hannah Garbatz, who is doing this very intentional community living up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Plano. We're going to share some more. We have some really unique holistic consultation guidelines and resources to encourage you if this is something that you're interested in doing. But I want friends, listeners, I want you to know that this idea of single family living and one family home ownership is a narrative. Guys, this is a narrative that is 100 years old. We unleashed this. Actually, and any of you that are history buffs or curious about history, I've been digging into a lot of real estate and housing history over the past year, but a lot of the narratives and stories that we still live with are post World War I initiatives. There was actually a need for America to house a lot of the veterans that were coming back from World War I and World War II as they were exiting urban urban cores, and they unleash this American dream narrative. And they actually, the marketing, I'll have to share some of the great ads that I found in the 30s and 40s. And, you could probably just Google it and pop up some of the fun 1930s and 40s ads. But they actually push this as a patriotic duty to own your own home. But I only bring that up because I think we're coming back to this fear that Lisa and I have been talking about. People are unleashing their dreams. They want the land, the commercial property, the project space, the lake house, that next thing. And they somehow get tripped up with this idea that, oh, me, single little Jill, or just our single family has to have the resources to do this. Widen your imagination, everyone, because maybe you have a neighbor or a friend or a longtime colleague that you've known forever that you really trust, that you could do this with. And Lisa and I are helping so many people in our Dream Chase initiative do this very thing.
So you thinking about what you were talking about, the narrative that we've been fed at that time, and is still continuing, but I think people's minds are changing. And when I think back, my family's from Boston. They have a generational house. It's a 3-story house. One family lives on one level, another family lives on another, and they still own that house, and it continues. And there's nothing to say that that can't happen now. I think what we're seeing, Jill, is that the buyers in today's market are trying to be creative because of the fact that they can't get as much house for the money as they could before. They're also wanting, like you said, to unleash their creativity, to think outside the box, to have some privacy instead of being in these communities where houses are, you can reach out and touch the next house beside you. You can see through the windows of the person behind you. For some people, that's great. For others, that's not so great. And so looking out into those areas is another way to get your home ownership. Now, a question I have for you, Mark, is are there any new products or approaches to mortgages that are out there now that weren't out there like when I first bought? We had to put 20% down. It was a conventional loan, FHA or VA, and that was it. That's all we had.
There's lots of nice programs. There are programs as little as 0 down in rural areas. I won't get too specific to confuse anyone today, but there's programs in the rural areas that's a 0 down program through the U.S. government. There's also Texas programs that we can offer down payment assistance on. And those programs are wonderful because you can theoretically get into the house for 0, assuming your income qualifications work. We also do loans, if you don't qualify for those, as little as 3% down for anyone. And so you can get into a home for 3% down. 20% down, you can do it, but you do not have to. A pretty small down payment works. And in this market, we're seeing seller participation where the seller will pay closing costs in some cases, which, is a wonderful thing because in theory, if you were to buy a $400,000 house and you got the down payment assistance and the seller paid the closing, you can move in for 0. And so that's kind of nice. We also are seeing some very creative loans that are coming back to where we'll do loans based on your bank. Say you're self-employed and you needed help. We can do loans just based on your bank assets. And we look at your deposits and we qualify you off that. So I would say to anyone listening, don't give up on home ownership. We've got programs and products for you out there. It's just a matter of asking. And I always tell people my job is to solve problems and to educate and to teach you really the best options for you and your family. And if there's not an option that works, we'll find the best one, find what works the best for you. And realistically in that situation, I'm a problem solver. You're never going to call me and I just tell you, oh, that didn't work, so sorry. That's not how we work. We work on how to make it work and how to teach you how to do it. And the rules are very simple. When you sit down with me, I will show you, here's what you have to do to buy a home. And most people go, it's that easy? And I'm like, it's that easy. And that's really the nice part about it is that I can show you how to get into a home. And really the goal is to set your budget. I mean, how do we set a person a budget to get into the home that they're very comfortable with? And my biggest compliment, I tell people this, I want to see you in the grocery store and you run up and hug me and say, I love Mark. I love you. You did the greatest job. You got me into my house and I cannot be happier. And that's my biggest compliment because I educated and taught them how to do all this and they were able to get into the house they're comfortable with and they love it.
That's the kind of lender you want to have on your side.
100%. And we never want fear or lack of knowledge to prevent you from achieving or realizing your dream. That's our holistic approach. People ask us a lot, like, what is this holistic approach? And while Lisa and I aren't, certified therapists, what we are going to do is we're going to sit down at that table at our holistic consult. We're going to better understand, what are you trying to achieve? Not every realtor is going to sit down and take quality time to understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish and ask the probing questions, because I think so many real estate agents are transactional. We are wanting to understand, making sure you understand all of your options and your opportunities and talk it out. And then when we're talking through these very fears right now, that the apprehensions that are coming, that we're listening to and witnessing day in and day out in this market. And we want to keep directing our clients and our neighbors and community members to resources and people that can educate them on what their options are, because I think their narratives are still stuck in a box that they don't even know isn't serving them.
Yes.
So is there one thing, Mark, that you would tell a home buyer or seller right now in this 2023 market to work on or think through?
I think the main thing I would tell both sides, buyers and sellers, don't give up on your dreams. If you're buying a home, you have a dream to be a homeowner. It's really exciting. And if you're a seller, you have a dream too, because you're moving to another home that is your new dream. And so both sides want their dream. And it's hard to say, I just want to put that dream off and not do my dreams and let things get in the way, like the interest rate, which has been the biggest dream stopper, as I'll call it. But I think overall, that's the biggest thing to do. And know that you can still have your dreams and enjoy it and do all the things you want to do. And just know that the rate's not going to be there forever. Like we've said numerous times in this podcast today, it's just that live your dreams and don't put off your life. I mean, if it's the right time for you to buy, you feel comfortable in your situation, and you just want to learn and go into this, go do it. It's very, very hard to time anything. I've told people this before, but do you know the best time to buy Apple stock is? I'm picking on Apple again today, but Apple stock, when's the best time to buy it? Nobody knows. We don't know that. But I do know that if you buy real estate in our area or anywhere, you're going to make money and create wealth for yourself. And the longer you wait, you put off your wealth building. So do know if it's the right time. I would get out there and look right now. I wouldn't put anything off.
Yeah, Lisa and I have seen, more negotiation power for buyers in this market than ever. And on the flip side, with our sellers, they are unleashing their creativity in unique ways and having opportunities to recognize the growth of their decisions in their wealth building journey. Creativity is the key, everyone. I mean, Mark, you said it, don't be afraid to dream. It just takes some time. I always say, carve out space for daydreaming. Daydreaming will lead you to better understand what it is that you are trying to accomplish. And then assemble your tribe and your team of people that are willing to daydream and creatively problem solve with you. Lisa and I, your Holistic Realtors, we are here and excited. This is what excites us. We want to help find a creative solution to what you're imagining. Mark is with us. We look forward to introducing you to our title team that's just as creative. We've got some amazing interior designers and artists and creatives that are staging and making our homes really unique to our market. That's something else we haven't talked about, is how, we're Austin, keeping it weird. The homes that sell in our market in Austin are the ones that are unique and interesting. So we enjoy unleashing our creativity in all of these different directions.
I think one thing too, just to go back a little bit, when it comes to buyers buying, it used to be you could buy a house, flip it in a few months or even to a couple of years and make a really nice profit. It might be that we have to adjust our thinking a little bit. Buyers might have to come to grips that when they buy a house, they might have to hold on to it for a little bit longer. Doesn't mean they still won't see a profit if that's what they're looking for. It just may be that we have to adjust our thinking to today's market to make our dreams come true.
I love that. And you know how important storytelling is to me. And I feel with every fiber of my being that we need to really lean into defining and rewriting our current story. I think I want us to be aware of the stories that we're living in that don't serve us. And I think we're still living in some stories that were created by a previous generation.
Yeah.
We all are. I have a fun side note story for everyone today. So I have a customer actually closing on a home in a few hours today. And I asked them, when are y'all planning to move in? And they said, Mark, you're not going to believe this, but we're moving in tonight with an air mattress and a barbecue pit. And I said, that's so fun. And they said, yes, we're going to grill out at our new home and sleep on an air mattress tonight because we can't move in yet because we're not quite ready and our furniture has to be packed and we'll move in next week. But tonight we're going to be on an air mattress and have a barbecue pit at the house. And I thought, that's a great story. And that just is a point to bring up again how fun homeownership is. You can't do that unless you're the new homeowner. It's so fun, and we sometimes forget that in everything we do, that buying a home is a lot of fun. There's fun at the end of the rainbow as far as that goes.
And curious that you use that phrasing, end of the rainbow. Home matters.
Yes.
We've all watched the movie The Wizard of Oz, and at the end, that whole journey and story, it's all about sort of recognizing and realizing the importance of home.
Home, yeah.
And Lisa and I, we want to make sure and include the idea of home. Your home nest stays at the center of this transaction. And it means we juggle a lot of different topics and ideas as we, guide and counsel you through that. But home matters. And we want to help set you up. Thank you, Mark. I was wondering if you would be willing to come back. And I feel like there's a lot more that we can dig into and dive into in terms of the market and interest rates and these fears and what you're seeing. And I'd love to be able to, take more of our Monday updates out to include our family. So we'd love to have you back. Would you be willing to come back?
I would love to come back. I love sharing knowledge and everything I've learned through the years. And, I guess my favorite part of my job is giving back. It makes me nothing makes me more happy, I guess is the right way to say it, than giving back everything that I've learned and gained through my career. And I have to say, I love what I do. And so when you love what you do, it shows. You give back and you do things for people. And I'll always give people the right advice. And Jill and Lisa mentioned earlier, if I'm not your best source, I will tell you that. And that's what the right thing to do. And to go to the old school bus, I don't know who all rode the school bus, but I rode the school bus. The golden rule of the school bus was do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If you remember that in everything you do, you will be successful at everything. And so I guess I'll finish on that today, and thank you all for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, it's so nice to have someone like you that aligns with our way of thinking. The client comes first. Their needs, their motivations are what guide us. And so it's really helpful to have you here speaking along those lines. Are you curious about navigating the changing real estate scene or need tailored insights? Are you ready to ask your burning questions? Well, we're here to help. Tell us what's on your mind.
And friends, know that you can always message us at realtors@holisticreg.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Audible, Apple, and Spotify. And we always say, help your neighbors stay informed. So share our education with them.
Bye, folks.
Onward we go. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.